When using Perfectly Clear, you'll find several corrections available. These are grouped by category to make it easier to understand their function. Let's examine the first category of adjustments, the tone category. These adjustments can help you achieve the perfect exposure. This is the first step to enhancing an image. The patented perfect exposure correction automatically optimizes the light exposure in every pixel. It's as if your 20 megapixel photo was taken with 20 million different apertures, with the aperture properly exposed for each pixel. Perfectly Clear will never clip your exposure. Perfect exposure is the most important algorithm and forms the core for all other corrections. Perfect exposure optimizes the light exposure in every pixel. This patented approach corrects the image to emulate what you saw at the time of taking the photo. By default, when perfect exposure is on, so is automatic strength selection. This means that Perfectly Clear will independently look at each photo and suggest a specific amount of exposure correction unique to that photo. There are 3 levels of auto exposure correction. This is useful to help you fine-tune your photos when batch processing. If you would like photos to be brighter, for example, then select High. This is why you'll notice a different exposure value as you load different photos. If you'd like to make a change, you can manually adjust the exposure slider bar. If you're correcting images with people in them, or creating a new preset, we suggest that you use the Face Aware option. Checking this control enables a more advanced auto exposure calculation, which means a more robust correction automatically. Great for batch processing. It will take into account the exposure of faces that it finds in the photo, as well as background lighting. This is a useful way to avoid over or underexposing the people in your photos. Another control for exposure is black point. This is used to set the black point in your image. This controls where our exposure adjustment is made. If you use a higher value, perfect exposure will affect fewer black areas. Consider checking the shadow clipping indicator in the histogram display to visualize cold pixels. Any area that shows as blue indicates that those pixels register as pure black. Avoid pushing too many pixels into this zone, or you can lose image details. The next control is depth, which is useful to add depth to an image and make it pop. It increases the contrast in each and every pixel, making it easier to discern the details. The eye perceives reality in 3D. This is why you like contrast or depth with your photos. The high definition option provides more detail in the shadows and highlights, and provides better exposure correction on faces than high contrast. If you move the slider bar to the left, you'll notice a flatter looking image. For extremely dark photos, it's beneficial to turn depth off in order to bring out some extreme details. Less contrast will reveal the details in the shadows, and thus applying less contrast can be a trick to create a brighter photo. Also note, when you choose to increase contrast, your photos will usually benefit by increasing the defaults of perfect exposure. That's because increasing depth will create a photo that's overall slightly darker. The skin and depth bias control can help repair many of the exposure flaws created by digital cameras. It also adds additional controls to adjust how much depth you would like in your photos. There are 2 options to choose from. Normal is the default setting and removes red from the skin tones and adds depth to the background areas. Brighter makes the same change, but with a brighter image that has more details revealed in the shadows. If you'd like softer light in your photos, try the light diffusion setting. This is particularly great for portrait photos, but many users like it for other images too. It'll soften the blemishes in the face and create a more diffused, softer picture with less contrast. Skin tones will often be slightly warmer or red when this algorithm is enabled. However, all photographers may enjoy the soft and subtle enhancement that this adjustment adds. Be sure to refine the adjustment using the slider to control the amount of the effect. To disable all of the tone controls, just click the word Tone in the group's label. Click again to re-enable the controls. To turn an individual control on or off, just click the checkbox. If you want to quickly modify nearly all of the adjustments applied to your image, try the strength slider. This completes our look at the tone controls. Be sure to watch more of our videos to understand all of Perfectly Clear's adjustments.